Hello everybody, this is Pastor Tim Gramling again, coming to you from the Olivet Church of Ventura with our discussion about life, living, and understanding God better. And today I'd like to undertake another interesting question. How do I know the Bible is true? How do I know that this thing called the Bible is true? Well, to understand that, we have to start with what is the Bible? And that is another topic that's more lengthy than we can get into here, except I should say that first, as you research, how did this thing we call the Bible come to be? We find that it is not that much different than what we might do in the modern day, which is we might collect a series of writings that we know to be true from all over the world as we know it, and then bring together in a compendium one book that brings together all the known sources of the time. We refer to that as a library or an encyclopedia. We have ways that we call it in the modern age. But this thing called the Bible came together in the very same way. Certainly there were books floating around for many years, going back thousands of years into the books we refer to as the Old Testament now. But as we get into somewhere after the resurrection of Jesus Christ in that 200 to 300 AD area, there was a desire of the churches at the time to get together this compendium, this encyclopedia. What were the books that were believed to be accurate and real at the time? And so as this compendium came together, there were several sets of people all around the world. In Egypt, again, the world known at the time, Egypt, the northeastern edge of the Roman Empire, of course in Rome itself and in Jerusalem. And as you research, you'll find that there was great agreement on what books were indeed considered to be authentic at the time. I always consider it to be somewhat arrogant for modern scholars to believe we can, in this time, several thousand years later, know better than people at the time what were or weren't valid books. I find that a very interesting enterprise. And for this I make an analogy. An analogy to a book debunked relatively recently called A Million Little Pieces. You may remember this book that was written and then mentioned in the Oprah Book Club, accidentally becoming a bestseller, and then being exposed as a fraud. Imagine if 2,000 years from now, a copy of A Million Little Pieces survived. And scholars 2,000 years from now examined this book, couldn't find any corroborating evidence to determine whether it was or wasn't authentic. Our videos and our copies of television shows and radio programs didn't survive, but just this book survived. Imagine them having this view of the book. Oh, look at life in this 21st century. We can see how ridiculous that sounds. Yet that is sometimes the critique that we give of ancient texts like the Bible, as if we can tell better now what they could tell then. How do we know the Bible is real? Well, there's a prophet from long ago, from the oldest part of the Bible, that talks about a litmus test we can use for anyone who claims to be a prophet speaking on God's behalf. The test is very simple. The test is laid out to be, if this prophet speaks and what they say does not come to pass, then they did not receive that word from God. And you have no need to be concerned about anything they have to say. So how do we know whether the Bible is real or not? The ultimate test is whether what the Bible says has come to pass. There are many instances of prophecies in what we refer to as the Old Testament that are revealed in the life and work of Jesus Christ, and in the New Testament, some of which has come to pass, and one of which I think is somewhat sad but true. A prophecy that Jesus himself made. That in the days he refers to as the last days, it says the love of many will wax cold. This notion that people will stop caring about each other and will become more focused on their own growth and their own wealth and their own lives to the detriment of other people. We live in a world and we know that has already come to pass. And on that basis and many more, the Bible passes the test. We know it's true because what it has predicted has come to pass.